What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Permaculture Community. Today I'm going to be talking about starting a permaculture farm and what is our plan. This will be broken up into 5 different sections, and I'm going to be releasing these videos separately as well. Number 1 is observe and interact. Number 2 is water. Number 3 is growth projects. Number 4 is fertilizers. And number 5 is dealing with pest issues. So starting with number 1, observe and interact is the first principle in the 12 principles of permaculture. It's the first thing that should be done when you first get onto land and you're thinking about what in the world am I going to do here, right? It's the foundation of everything because it's going to make sure that each big decision that you make is going to be an informed decision regarding your permaculture farm. So it's all about understanding the land before you make these huge decisions, these huge changes, which are hard to change later on, like digging a greenhouse wallapini or building a structure that is going to be extremely difficult to change, like a pond or swales, anything like that. So you want to make sure that you get everything done beforehand. The goal in permaculture is to design a system that works with nature, that harnesses the power of nature, and that doesn't work against it. So it takes time to learn what your landscape is like. For instance, like if the soil is too acidic, we might have to add lime or something else to balance the pH. Or if it lacks nitrogen, we might need to add nitrogen-fixing plants, which of course we're going to do. Another thing we're going to be doing is soil testing. This is so that we can assess the pH, the nutrition, and the composition of the soil. That will be a big factor in determining what we might need to add in order to supplement the plants before committing all in on what we're going to be growing and where we're going to be growing it. We're also going to have to see how deep the water table is on our property. So if that isn't accessible in the records online for our area, we might buy a auger because we're going to need one anyways for different projects, and make attachments so that we can put it down and down and down until we hit water, and so that we can kind of know how deep the water table is. And that's important just so we know that if we're going to build a well or anything like that, that we know how deep it is, or for our plants' tap roots for trees, how deep they're going to have to go in order to access that groundwater. After that, we're going to be mapping the terrain. So for this, we're going to have to walk the entire premises. We're going to use satellite, drones potentially if we buy drones, to get a good idea of what the landscape is like. This way we can see the contours of the land, how rain flows down different slopes at different angles, and that will inform how we're going to be placing our swales, which are these things that I'll get into a little bit later. Take notes of where the sun hits and for how long, what areas are more shady than others, where the wind blows and how hard do we need a wind barrier in some areas. We're going to take note of the existing trees, shrubs, weeds, all the native plants, and where they're growing. Because a tip I heard was you want to be growing your plants in areas where similar species are growing, right? So for example, if an area has a lot of dandelion, I know that that area is probably deficient in calcium. So I'm not going to put calcium-loving plants in that area. I mean, I might, just so I can chop and drop the dandelion on it. But that is something to really consider. Like another example would be you see a place with lots of grass flourishing. Maybe that's a great place to plant corn or other grasses that are going to thrive on that extra water where that water pools in that area. We're going to take note of the different soil types and where they are. And we're going to be putting all of these different things onto a map as best as I possibly can, because it's pretty difficult to fit all of these things onto a permaculture map. Something else I'll probably be doing is similar to this map that you see here, which is from Willow's Green Permaculture YouTube channel. An incredible channel where he goes over everything on his permaculture farm. And in this video, he talks about his kind of map for his different plants and where he's putting them. So I'll probably have something like that in addition to the map that is more about, you know, the wind flow, the sunlight, the contours, all those different things. I think those might be 2 separate maps, which is kind of what he did as well. And after having done all of this, we'll have a pretty good idea of what projects are feasible, what are not feasible. Is it possible to have multiple ponds, or is it really just not working with the landscape? And we'll have a much better idea of where to put those things as well after having done this whole process of mapping everything out and walking the land, getting to know it after a couple months of time before committing fully to something that will be really hard to reverse. And the last thing is before diving deep in our finances and committing fully to something, we're going to definitely create a budget on what we need for the land and all of our different projects. So if that sounds interesting to you, say subscribed. We're going to be putting out content on all of our different developments over the years, on our plans, on when we actually start this project, what does it look like, and check out the other 4 videos in this playlist for what we're planning to do when we start our permaculture farm. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.